Ladies and gentlemen, sons and daughters of purpose, hear me closely, not with your ears, but with your spirit. We are not gathered here today to entertain our intellect, but to awaken our original mandate. Too long have we walked the pages of history books and missed the point. Too long have we memorized dates, memorized wars, memorized inventions and disasters, and still never asked the deeper question, why? Why was there a beginning? Why are we here? Why do civilizations rise and fall like waves upon the sea? Why does humanity repeat the same patterns, generation after generation? The answer is not in textbooks, nor in universities. It is not in documentaries, nor in dusty scrolls. The answer lies in the mind of the one who created history itself. And if you want to understand the history of the entire world, you must not begin with man. You must begin with purpose. Because until purpose is known, abuse is inevitable. Until purpose is known, history is merely a record of confusion. But when purpose is revealed, history becomes a mirror reflecting divine intent and the tragic results of human rebellion. In the beginning, there was no religion, no government, no culture, and no war. There was only a king and his kingdom. He was not lonely. He was not bored. He was complete within himself. But like every good king, he desired expansion. He desired to extend his rulership, not by force, but by love. He desired to manifest the invisible in visible form. So he created a realm called Earth, a domain to be governed not by angels, not by spirits, but by a unique being made in his own image. Man was not created to escape Earth, but to rule it. Man was not made for heaven. He was made for earth, and heaven was made to be the source of his wisdom, the blueprint of his governance, and the headquarters of his authority. And so the king said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the earth." That one word, dominion, is the key to the history of the world. It is not about religion. It is not about building churches. It is about rulership. Man was designed to manage, administrate, and cultivate the earth. He was created as a royal ambassador, sent from a heavenly kingdom to implement divine culture in a physical realm. This is where history truly begins, not with Adam's fall, but with God's intent. The earth was not an accident. You were not an afterthought. Mankind was created to be a colony of heaven. Earth was designed to be an outpost of heaven's culture, values, and authority. This was not a theological experiment. It was a governmental strategy. The Creator never intended for man to beg for survival. He designed him to dominate, to influence, to subdue, not people, but the environment, resources, systems, and structures. You were never meant to be a slave to your circumstances. You were built to shape your world by reflecting heaven's order. But something tragic occurred. The original kings, Adam and Eve, abandoned their assignment. They did not lose a religion. They lost rulership. They did not fall from morality. They fell from dominion. The issue was never about eating a fruit. It was about disobedience that broke the connection to the source of government. When man disconnected from the kingdom of heaven, he lost access to divine guidance. And from that moment forward, history took a dark turn, and no longer did man operate from wisdom. He began to operate from fear, selfishness, and survival. Instead of dominion, he sought domination. Instead of stewardship, he sought ownership. The history of the world became the history of men trying to rule without God, trying to build kingdoms without submission to the King of Kings. And every attempt has failed. From the great empires of Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, Rome, and beyond, mankind has tried to establish order without purpose, and the result has always been the same: oppression, corruption, and collapse. Every civilization you read about is a chapter in the same story. Men and women with divine potential attempting to rule without divine direction. That's why Babylon rose in pride and fell in confusion. That's why Egypt built pyramids but enslaved people. That's why Rome claimed peace but crucified the Prince of Peace. Because when man loses his relationship with his Creator, he no longer knows who he is. And when you don't know who you are, you will imitate what you see. You will copy culture instead of cultivating the kingdom. The enemy of your soul is not afraid of your education, your language, or your rituals. He is terrified of you rediscovering your authority. He is terrified of you awakening to your true position as a citizen of the kingdom. Because once you understand that you are not a beggar, not a sinner, not a mistake, but a son or daughter of the King with legal rights and responsibilities, everything changes. You stop asking for permission to lead. You begin to walk in your birthright. You begin to govern your thoughts, your your emotions, your environment, and even your territory. When man fell, he did not lose heaven. He lost the ability to bring heaven into earth. That is why history became a record of violence, greed, and confusion. It is not because man is inherently evil. It is because man became independent. And independence is not freedom. It is rebellion against design. You were never meant to be independent. You were meant to be interdependent with heaven's government. That is where true freedom lies. Not in doing what you want, but in fulfilling your original assignment. Every major movement in history is man's attempt to either return to dominion or to replace it. Politics is the search for leadership. Religion is the search for meaning. Science is the search for laws. Philosophy is the search for wisdom. Economics is the search for value. But all of these are shadows of a truth long forgotten, that man was created to reflect heaven in earth. When you understand this, history becomes a revelation, not just a record. You begin to see that the confusion of nations is the result of a misplaced kingdom. You begin to realize that the chaos of the world is the echo of a forgotten Eden. Even in our modern era, the same cycle continues. We build systems, call them progress, and then watch them collapse under the weight of corruption. We create new ideologies only to see them lead to division. We chase success but still feel empty. We innovate technology but lose the family. We globalize economies but increase injustice. Why? Because without the kingdom, nothing works the way it was designed to work. History without the kingdom is like a car without a driver, moving fast but heading nowhere. So the king made another move. He did not send a committee. He did not send a religion. He did not send a military force. He sent a son, a governor, a prototype of the original man. He did not come to start a religion. He came to restore a kingdom. He came to reintroduce what was lost. He declared, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." That word, repent, means to change your mind. It means to return to the top, return to the original idea, return to divine intention. The history of the world pivoted, not when a war ended or when a law was passed, but when a man came preaching a government from another world. He didn't talk about church. He talked about the kingdom. He didn't build monuments. He built men. He didn't train priests. He trained rulers. He said, "You are the salt of the earth." That means you preserve the world. He said, "You are the light of the world." That means you expose truth and illuminate purpose. He gave power to those who once begged for mercy. He gave identity to those who were forgotten by society. And then he gave them a message: go and make disciples, not converts, not members, but citizens of a kingdom. The most important thing about you is not your last name, not your education, not your skin color or your bank account. The most important thing about you is that you are carrying a kingdom. Inside of you is a deposit from another realm. You were not born just to pay bills and die. You were not sent to earth to chase survival. You were deployed to bring order where there is chaos, purpose where there is confusion, and vision where there is blindness. You are history in motion. You are divine intention in flesh. This is why the world cannot understand you, because you are not from here. You are an ambassador. You speak the language of heaven in a world addicted to rebellion. But that is your assignment: to influence, not to imitate, to transform, not to conform. You are here to teach the nations how to live under the rule of the king. That's why you can't afford to be distracted. You can't afford to waste your life chasing what the world chases. You have a territory to manage. You have a system to reform. You have generations waiting on your obedience. When you study history through the lens of the kingdom, you realize that empires come and go, but the king's purpose remains. Pharaohs rise and fall. Caesars are born and buried. Presidents and prime ministers come and go, but the government of the king is eternal. It is not shaken by stock markets, not swayed by public opinion, and not limited by borders or bullets. It operates on a higher plane, a realm where righteousness and justice are the foundation. The king does not panic. He plans. He is not surprised by history. He authors it. And even now, while the world debates, the king is raising up a generation who will not bow to the idols of culture, a generation who will walk in authority, speak with boldness, and live with purpose. They are not defined by history. They are writing it. They are not afraid of the future. They are shaping it. They are ambassadors of a kingdom not built with hands, and they carry a government that cannot be voted in or out. You were born for such a time as this. You are not a mistake in the timeline. You are a solution sent to realign time with eternity. You are here because something was missing in history that your presence was designed to fulfill. That is why you must rise above the noise, rise above the fear, rise above the limitations placed on you by people people who never knew your purpose, because history is not finished. The scroll is still being written, and the king is still looking for those who will rule in his name.